Good morning, class. Today we are going to begin our second chapter in the Constitution, that is Rights in the Indian Constitution. A constitution is not only about the composition of various organs of government and the relations among them. As we studied in the last chapter, the constitution is a document that sets limits on the powers of the government and ensures a democratic system in which all persons enjoy certain rights. In this chapter, we shall study the fundamental rights contained in the Indian Constitution, and part 3 of the Constitution of India lists the fundamental rights and also mentions the limits on these rights. In the past 50 years, the scope of rights has changed and in many respects expanded. So after studying this chapter, you would able to know about what are the various fundamental rights listed in the Constitution of India, how these are protected, what role the judiciary has played in protecting and interpreting these rights, and what is the difference between fundamental rights and the directive principles of state policy. Now, so we will understand what are rights. Rights is a claim of the citizens against the state, or right is a power or privilege to which a person has just a claim, or in other word you can say that to have rights means one has duties and responsibilities because rights stem from those duties. It means no one can harm anyone else without violating that other's right. Or rights are legal, social, or ethical principles of freedom or entitlement. That is, rights are the fundamental normative rules about what is allowed of people or owed to people according to some legal system, social convention, or ethical theory. So before going further, we need to understand the importance of rights. And here we are having some examples to understand the importance of rights. So first example is, in 1982, during the construction work for Asian Games, the government engaged a few contractors. These contractors employed a large number of very poor construction workers from different parts of the country to build the flyovers and stadiums. These workers were kept in poor working conditions and were paid less than the minimum wages decided by the government. A team of social scientists studied their poor condition and petitioned the Supreme Court. They argued that employing a person to work for less than the minimum prescribed wage amounts to beggar or forced labor, which is a violation of the fundamental right against exploitation. The court accepted this plea and directed the government to ensure that thousands of workers get the prescribed wages for their work. So it's very important that people should know about their right in a correct way. Otherwise, they will not be able to understand that what actually they have to get and what they are getting. So if you are not having understanding of your right, then you will be exploited. That's what happened in this case, that the workers were exploited, were not given the wages as decided by the government, and the court accepted the case. petitioned by some social scientists, because no one can violate the right of others to benefit themselves. So it's very important to understand the right and to claim for that right. Now we have one more story. Marshall Lalang was 23 when he was arrested. A resident of Chiburi village of Morigaon district of Assam. Marshall was charged of causing grievous injuries. He was found mentally too unstable to stand trial and was sent as under trial to Lokpriya Gopinath Bodoli Mental Hospital in Tejpur for treatment. Marshall was treated successfully, and doctor wrote twice to jail authorities in 1967 and 1966 that he was fit to stand trial, but no one paid any attention. Marshall Lalang remained in judicial custody. He was released in July 2005. He was then 77. He spent 54 years under custody, during which his case never came up for hearing. He was freed when a team appointed by the National Human Rights Commission intervened after an inspection of under trials in the state. So you can imagine that even if you are arrested, you have right to get trial. And though first he was not mentally fit, but when doctor wrote 2 times, no one paid any heed to this, and this completely, what you can say, exploited his rights, or his life was completely ruined. 23 and he came out from jail 77, and even without trial was not taken up for hearing. So it's very important to have the proper understanding of your rights. So our constitution gives every citizen the right to life and liberty. This means that every citizen must have the right to fair and speedy trial. Marshall case shows that what happens when rights granted by the constitution are not available in practice. So that's why from the last 2 cases I'm telling you, it's very important to have the proper understanding of your rights so that you can claim for it. Because if they are not able to do that, on their behalf some others done the petition or made a team to investigate about the cases, and that was succeeded. So importance of right is only there when you know your right very well. In case of the first instance, all there was a violation of rights provided in the constitution, but it was challenged in the court, and as a result workers could get what was due to them in the form of their rightful wages. The constitutional guarantee of rights against exploitation ensured justice to these workers. So Marshall case help us to talk about the right to life and liberty, and the case of workers help us to know about the rights against exploitation. Now next we have Bill of Rights. Both these examples shows the importance of having rights and of the actual implementation of these rights. A democracy must ensure that individuals have certain rights, and the government will always recognize these rights. Therefore, it is often a practice in most democratic countries to list the rights of the citizens in the constitution. And such a list of rights mentioned and protected by the Constitution is called the Bills of Rights. A Bills of Rights prohibits government from thus acting against the rights of the individual and ensures a remedy in case there is violation of these rights. Thus, the concept of Bills of Rights generated to safeguard the interest of citizens of the country, and it is a common practice in democratic countries to list the rights of the citizens in the constitution, as we have already discussed that such a list is called as Bill of Rights. Now, why these bills of rights important to us? Because a Bill of Rights prohibits government from acting against the rights of the individuals and ensures remedy in case of there is a violation of rights, as we have seen in the both cases. It protects citizens from another person, private organization and form of government actions also, that if there anyone who violates the rights, these Bill of Rights protects the individual. Therefore, we can say that a Bill of Rights, sometimes called a Declaration of Rights or a Charter of Rights, is a list of the most important rights to the citizens of a country. The purpose is to protect those rights against the infringement from the public officials and private citizens. And we have few questions to ask, that from whom does the constitution protects our rights of the individual? The rights of a person may be threatened by another person or private organization. In such a situation, the individual would need the protection of the government. So it is necessary that the government is bound to protect the rights of the individual. On the other hand, the organs of the government, the legislature, executive, bureaucracy, or even the judiciary, in the course of their functioning, may violate the rights of the person. And these bills of rights ensures the protection from those violations. Let us recapitulate what we have discussed in today's class. We talked about the importance of rights, meaning of rights, and we dealt the two cases to understand the concept or the importance of rights. Then we talked about the bills of rights, that why important to have the bills of rights and how these rights can help us. So these are the assignment question. What do you mean by rights? Why it is important to have rights? Explain with examples. What do you mean by Bill of Rights, and why it is important to have Bill of Rights mentioned in the Constitution. Thank you class. Have a nice day ahead.